What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Pack a Day podcast. I'm your host, Andy Herman. You can follow me on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL. Thanks so much for joining me today. A really fun episode lined up. Had the opportunity to attend Packers rookie minicamp on Friday. I just kind of want to go over some of my immediate reactions and some of the players who I thought looked impressive, and we'll kind of go over those sort of things. But before we get there, I do just want to mention, this is the first day of rookie minicamps. There's no pads. There's there's no team activities. There's no 11 on 11s. Take all of this with a grain of salt. It ultimately doesn't mean a whole lot of anything, but first impressions are fun, right? If you spend a couple first round picks, you would like to see them in person and be like, oh yeah, I can see why they spent a first round pick on those sort of players. So first impressions are always nice, but at the end of the day, it doesn't mean a whole lot. For example, last year, Eric Stokes, I think it was day one of rookie minicamp, maybe it was day two, but he gets absolutely burned on a 9 route on, I don't think it was team activities, but I think it was probably one-on-ones on the outside. But either way, he gets absolutely burned really early in rookie minicamp by Bailey Gaither. And you're thinking at the time, that's not exactly what you want to see from your first round pick in one of his first one-on-ones, is that he gets toasted by undrafted free agent Bailey Gaither. Well, guess what? It meant absolutely nothing. And yes, you know what? Eric Stokes struggled a little bit in that rookie minicamp. He struggled at the beginning of training camp and through OTAs. And that one of the stories was, he was getting beat consistently by Devonte Adams. Well, who doesn't? But I actually think that was actually one of the underreported stories at the beginning of training camp of just how much Eric Stokes did struggle. And guess what? When it got to the regular season, after he really turned things around midway training camp and played well in preseason, he played fantastic. And he had a really nice rookie year. And he is one of the more promising Packers, especially younger Packers, on the team at the moment. So, any sort of nerves or struggles at this point in minicamp are to be expected. And again, whether a player looks beyond amazing or looks absolutely terrible, I remember the days of, DJ Williams, I think it was, who, the tight end who, looked really, really good through rookie mini camps and OTAs, etc. And then, all of a sudden got into games and didn't do anything at all. And then, there's been other players who, like I said, with Stokes, who struggle through those portions, and then you get to the regular season and they look fantastic. So take all of this with a grain of salt. But there were a lot of players who looked impressive. The story of the day, I would say, was some nerves and some inconsistency. There were a lot of drops. There were some false starts. There were some really poor throws. This had all the look and feel of a bunch of rookies and inexperienced players out on the field on their very first day practicing together. That's what it felt like. And remember here, it was high 40s, low 50s. It was actually I want to say low 50s, but it was really cold out there. And it was really windy as well. So not to say that that's any excuse for professional players, but you're making your first, impressions on, Ray Nitschke Field, and you're probably a little bit nervous. You're wearing the green and gold for the first time. A lot of undrafted guys, tryout guys, and you're just trying to do the best that you can. And the last thing you want is cold, windy weather. So take, again, all of this into consideration, but you could see a lot of drops, a lot of nervousness, a lot of inconsistency throughout the course of the day. That was sort of the theme of the mini camp. But let's get to sort of some player by player breakdowns. And there's no two ways about it. Like I said, it doesn't mean a whole lot, but if you want to make a first impression, you might as well make a first impression. Quay Walker made a first impression. First and foremost, you just want to pass that eye test, right? You spend the 22nd pick on a inside linebacker, off-ball linebacker, near 6'4" guy, super fast, super athletic, strong, quick, all of it. It's one of those where you just want to, go up next to him and just kind of see what he looks like. Yeah, dude there's looking the part, and then there's literally seriously looking the part. Quay Walker is a massive human being. He is not somebody that you want chasing you down, and he looks the part of an NFL-ready inside linebacker. But passing the eye test is one thing, and then going out in the field and performing is another. There, you could see him just like all the other rookies. There was a couple of plays. They were running a drill. I don't know the exact name of it. It's actually I think it's the first time I've seen it, where it was I want to say 3 offensive linemen. I think it was center, right guard, right tackle, or center, left guard, left tackle. and then quarterback, running back. And they took the snap and they would run one way. And then it was like two defensive linemen and a linebacker. So basically like 3-on-3 up front, and the running back, they're just running stretch plays. And they're basically, the running back's trying to get upfield. The defensive lineman and the linebacker are trying to get off those blocks. Again, no pads, and trying to make a play on the ball. So it was technically, I think, like a 5-on-3 is what I guess technically define it as. But really, it's the 3 offensive linemen versus the 2 defensive linemen and the linebacker. There were a couple plays early in that drill where, the third offensive lineman, if you will, the 2 offensive linemen, are taking out the defensive lineman. And then the third one is reaching up to the linebacker. And they're getting to the linebacker, and Quay was just a little slow to disengage and get out to his side and go make a play on the ball. And Joe Barry was, coming around and talking to him. And then on a play later, it like sort of clicked, and he got off the block and he sped to the outside. And I think it was Tyler Goodson on the play, and made a, quote unquote tackle or stop on Goodson and earned the fist bump from Joe Barry after the play. That's exactly what you want to see, right? You want to see a player who is like, for the first time going through some of these motions. Joe Barry coaches him up, and then he does it differently, makes the play, shows off his athleticism, shows off his sideline to sideline, speed, and gets the fist bump from his coach. Those are the sort of things that you want to see in rookie minicamp. You're going through some of these things for the first time. Maybe you struggle through a couple drills, you learn through it, you figure it out, you make a play, and now you've hopefully got that in your arsenal moving forward. That's the things that, again, you love to see in rookie minicamp. But I want to talk about a couple one-on-ones in pass coverage for Quay Walker. Because in one of the very first one-on-one, it was Tyler Goodson versus Quay Walker. And Goodson is going to run a slant on the play. And Walker's across from him. Walker does a great job of sort of, I wouldn't say it was like exactly a jam on the play, but sort of like getting his hands on him, and then comes around him, undercuts it, and then is able to sort of anticipate the slant, undercuts it, gets around him, and has a pass breakup on the play. Now that's the very first one-on-one. This is your very first one-on-one in coverage as a rookie wearing the donning the green and gold. And he comes out and he makes a physical play, undercuts it, bats the ball away, and makes an impressive play. I didn't get the chance to see if it was like a super impressive slant from Tyler Goodson, but one-on-ones in general are much more advantageous to the receiver, running back, tight end, etc. Those are, less than ideal situations for the person in coverage. He played it perfectly, and that was his second best pass defense of the day. So the next play that he comes, I don't know if it was like his very next, one-on-one, or if, it was definitely, I think, a little bit later. But one of the next times he gets up, I think it was BJ Baylor this time, who's running a 9 route. So again, a lot of slants, a lot of ins, a lot of different routes. All of a sudden you get a running back running a go route. Well, he plays trail coverage on the play. He sort of like jams him, gets it, turns around like with like almost like corner type hips, and then like runs step for step with this running back. And then goes back, plays the ball. You would have thought that he was the intended receiver, like that he was playing wide receiver on the play. His ability to like play underneath coverage in case the running back was going to do anything underneath, and then run step for step with a running back, and then run the route for the running back, turn around and make a perfect play on the ball and an interception. You could not in any way, shape, or form make it look any easier. It was as I said, it is rookie minicamp. Take everything with a grain of salt. It was a true wow play for rookie minicamp. And to have 2 plays in coverage where you have a perfect PBU and then a gorgeous interception, like this was teaching tape coverage on underneath coverage against a running back for a linebacker. One-on-ones, no help, 9 route. You're playing underneath, you run from step for step, get your head turned, and easily pick off the pass. Just a gorgeous, gorgeous play. That was the type of day that Quay Walker had. Again, a couple hiccups here and there that he learned from, got the fist bump from Barry, showed off his sideline to sideline speed, had 2 gorgeous plays in coverage, a pass breakup and an interception, and completely looked the part. That is what you want to see from your 22nd overall pick. Does it mean he's going to be good? Nope. Doesn't mean much of anything. But you want a good first impression. Quay Walker had that, and then some. The other really good first impression, I would say, was from Romeo Dobbs. he had multiple catches down the field, had one on a 9 route, had one on a post, a couple really like fingertip catches, athletic catches. He did have a drop that he should have had. And this was just, again, sort of the name of the day, right? Like the theme of the day. A lot of these players put some really good stuff out there, but a lot of them had some nerves, some drops, some false starts, etc. No different from Dobbs, who had a really nice day, but later in practice had a drop that he completely should have had. Now, the good news on the play is he's running a dig or like an in route on the play, excuse me. And he runs the in and like he gets at the top of the route, sells like the deep route, cuts back, and he has a gorgeous separation on the play. It was a really nice route. Separates, has like 3 yards of separation. The ball's right to him, just dropped it. Probably should have been picked behind him too. So those are just plays that of course you want to make. But I thought Dobbs had a really impressive day, had multiple nice catches. There were a couple catches that he let get into his body a little bit. But overall, again, 4th round pick, first day of rookie minicamp. I thought he was another guy who stood out really well. Christian Watson, another really interesting player, right? When you're looking again to pass the eye test, I would say the first one was Quay Walker. Devonte Wyatt definitely passes the eye test, and then Christian Watson as well, like your first 3 guys, right? Watson just ran at a different pace. He had the size, like you could just tell this is somebody different, right? Again, does that mean he's going to be good? No, it doesn't. But you want to see that. You want to see somebody that has the size, the speed, the strength, the athleticism. You're going to trade 2 second-round picks up. You want to at least see the player in person and be like, all right, I get it. I know why they did that. And that's exactly how I felt with Christian Watson. However, if you remember, one of his big bugaboos in college was drops. He had 3 drops during the course of practice. So that is something that he's going to have to continue to work on. One of them was over the middle. It was a really nice throw. I don't know who made the throw on the play. If it was, if it was Danny Etling, or Max Bortenschlager. But one of them made a really nice tight window throw over the middle of the field. And it was a little high, no question about it. He had to sky up and try to make the catch. Bounces right off his hands and should have been picked behind him. That was also dropped. Again, just gives you an idea of the day. But I think some of that is nerves. I would feel better about it if that wasn't his issue in college as well. And 3 drops is never something you want to see on your first day of practice with Christian Watson. But if you could take those away, I thought he had a really nice day. You could see the speed, you could see the athleticism, you could see the size. He really looked the part. He made a couple of really nice plays. He made a play over the middle, which a lot of the reporters there thought was the play of the day. So again, showed off what he can do. Just, again, the hands and the inconsistencies catching the football showed up on minicamp, and that's something that he's going to have to continue to improve upon. I didn't get a great look at Devonte Wyatt, but from like any play in particular. But when you see him move, when you see his size, when you see just like how he's put together, again, you get it. You understand why Green Bay was looking at this player in the first round, and he should be able to bring something to the table. Again, didn't get a great look at him in any sort of specific, like, in those like 3-on-5 drills or anything like that. But overall, just in some of the individual drills, again, looked the part, looked fast, looked aggressive, looked athletic, I should say. And I'm looking forward to seeing more of him, especially come OTAs and training camp when the pads actually come on. The other player who I thought really stood out was Samori Toure. And I didn't exactly know what to expect out of Toure. I haven't done the deep dive yet, so I'm looking forward to really diving into his tape. I know he played a lot of outside receiver, a lot of deep routes in college, had a great average per reception. When I watched Toure, he looked really smooth in and out of his breaks. Like he looked, again, do not go far with this, but he looked a little like the Wes Welker, Julian Edelman type of player, like that type of slot wide receiver who has the ability to get sort of in and out of his breaks, can get to any spot on the field, has a little bit of deep ball, but like can do a little bit of everything in that realm. Now, I don't know how Green Bay is going to use him. I don't know how they see him, but he looked very crisp and smooth out of his breaks. And again, what you're looking for in these, rookie mini camps is just something you can take away, right? And to me, that was it with Toure. He caught the ball clean, great, he showed off good hands. Again, in and out of his breaks really quick. You just look like a player that if you got him in space, if you got him in the slot, matched up one-on-one in a corner, that he would know what to do, know how to separate, get his hands on the ball and be able to make a play. Had a really nice play. I don't know if it was after the catch or what it was, but like you could see like once he got the ball in his hands, he had the ability to turn upfield and like turn on the jets too. So really intrigued by Samori Toure as well as time goes on. Thought Sean Ryan looked the part. He had a couple plays just in like sort of, it was like individual drills, but he was like kind of blocking another offensive lineman. Or again, like I mentioned yesterday, he looked like Josh Sitton. Like that's what he looks like in person too. And again, we're not jumping to any conclusions here, but I thought overall, like again, looked the part. That's what you want to see. Zach Tom was a little bit different. A couple years ago when Jake Hansen got to rookie minicamps, I'm like, oh, he looks like he's a freshman playing varsity football. He just looks like a couple inches smaller, like 20 pounds underweight. Got a little of that feel from Zach Tom as well. I don't think, just based on his build, and I hope I'm wrong, I hope he's phenomenal, but I'd be very surprised if Zach Tom was going to be able to come in and compete right away. He looks like he's a year away from being able to compete and just being able to put on some functional strength. Even when Jake Hansen came back last year, he looked like he added functional strength. He looked much bigger, much better than he did coming in at rookie minicamp. That's sort of the feel that I got from Zach Tom as well. It doesn't mean much. It doesn't mean that he can't be a good player, but it looks like he just needs to add some functional strength, which usually will come in like year two. But Wes Hodkiewicz pointed out like, there's a little JC Treader there too, who also kind of came in a little bit like an undersized guy, got in at center and just proved his worth immediately. So you never quite know, but that was one player who, again, no good, bad, ugly, and different, just looked a little bit smaller than the other offensive linemen that were there at rookie minicamp. My other takeaways, Max Bortenschlager and Danny Etling. It's not going to happen. Sorry, guys. Like there was some not great quarterback play, some balls that were like, you were wondering if they were trying to throw a changeup on the play, like just didn't have the ball speed, the ball velocity, the placement, just any of it. So not looking for too much out of Danny Etling and Max Bortenschlager moving forward. BJ Baylor and Tyler Goodson, I thought the two running backs both had pretty nice days. Baylor actually impressed a little bit more, I thought, as a running back. Again, he had a couple plays. I think he had a drop out of the backfield as a wide receiver. And then he actually seemed to like kind of pull up a little bit. He fought through the injury and kept going at practice, but you could tell he was fighting a little something. But I thought both running backs looked pretty good in limited opportunities. Danny Davis, the wide receiver from Wisconsin, had a really nice contested catch down the sideline. Kingsley Enagbare didn't get a great look at him, but he's another player who, while I think needs to probably also put on some functional strength, he sort of looks a little bit like a skinny Zadarius Smith. So he's wearing the 55, like just sort of, again, looks like you want him to look, but again, can probably add a little bit of functional strength to get to that size that maybe a Zadarius Smith was. Raleigh Tejada had a nice interception in, I think, 7-on-7s. Rasheed Walker definitely looked the part at offensive tackle. Didn't get a great look at like how he was actually blocking, but very imposing figure as a 7th-round pick. Jonathan Ford, the big defensive tackle, I thought he had a really nice play in those 3-on-5 drills. Like, those 3-on-5 drills are set up for the running backs to basically succeed. He had the best rep of anyone that I saw during those where he stood up the offensive line and the running back was just trying to get through, and it was just Jonathan Ford just eating space, and like the offensive lineman couldn't move him and the running back just basically ran in to Jonathan Ford. That was one of the more impressive plays from a defensive lineman or even any lineman that I saw throughout the course of the day. So if he can become a good run defender, that would be a nice piece to add in the 7th round. And last but not least, I thought Joe Barry really showed his value. He was all over the place, coaching up everyone. You could tell, like, he gets it. He did a phenomenal job in year one. There were some question marks if that was the right hire. Man, he had a great defense last year, made some really good improvements. He just seems like the right guy for this Packers defense. Was really impressed with just how he was coaching the younger guys. Came across aggressive when he needed to come across aggressive. Came across friendly when he needed to come across friendly. That's always a tough line to toe. He did it with ease, and really impressed with Joe Barry and his coaching techniques at day one of rookie minicamp. That is going to do it for me. Hope you enjoyed this edition of the Pack-A-Day podcast. I'll be right back here tomorrow with an all-new episode. But until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.